Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, man. Hunt the ball. Let's go, family on three. 1, 2, 3, family.
Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. Back again this week with the crew. Garnett got in here early. He's in the middle. And then, of course, we have Jake Vogel all the way on the right this time. So, yeah, you got to get your thumbs direction correct this week, Jake. But we're here to look ahead to this Bears-Ravens matchup, important matchup between the two teams. Here we are, week 11 already. But before we do that, did not have a review show on the Dolphins game. Obviously, an incredibly disappointing game for the Ravens. So I wanted to ask the crew, Jake, what do you think about this game? What's your synopsis of this game? Where does it leave us? Just wanted to go back and forth with you on this one.
Yeah, this was disappointing for all of us Ravens fans. And going into the game, I feel like I was a little bit more level-headed than either of you guys. And you kind of boosted me up and got me thinking, the Ravens are going to trounce the Dolphins. And that is not what we saw. And I'm not going to hold it against you too much, but I'm going to try to keep that level-headedness going into this week and, just throughout the season, because anytime that I feel like the Ravens can win a game in a dominant fashion, they seem to not do that. So it is very disappointing. A lot of cover zero looks from the Dolphins. Obviously, Javon Holland played a great game. I don't want to take anything away from the Dolphins, but I feel like the Ravens missed some opportunities. They did not execute really well, and I also don't think they game planned or adjusted their game plan to the best of their ability. So I was really disappointed, and I hope we see something much better this week.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm sorry, Jake. I had to hype myself up and live a lie because we was reading all the stats and before the game, before we went over the show, we're going on with the stats there's no way in hell we should lose to the Dolphins. And what do? We lose to the Dolphins. So it's it was very very disappointing. And the fact that in the back of my head I knew something like this was going to happen. And from now on, what I told Jason earlier is I'm never going to give the Ravens the benefit of the doubt for the rest of the season. They got to earn everything. They got to earn my trust almost to a point where we have been there's a pattern of conduct or a pattern of how we've been so off. We start off slow, late adjustments, really, really late adjustments. And it's a consistent thing that we need to fix real fast. If not, Chicago can hand us another L.
Yeah, for me, it was, I feel like we've had, some of our issues this year have been very, very prevalent. We've had the big plays allowed on defense. We've had the lack of running back production. And then something that had been lingering all year is our lack of adjustments, how slow it takes us to adjust. And it finally caught up to us. I mean, it could have caught up to us in other games, especially the Colts game, these double-digit deficits. I think 3 of them we've come back from this year. But this year or this game, it was too little, too late. So fans are upset with Greg Roman, and make no mistake, my opinion on this game is Greg Roman bears the brunt of the responsibility for not having that team prepared to go into Miami. I think the players could have played well. Some of that is on Lamar. Some of it's on Sammy Watkins, who didn't have a good game. Hollywood could have made some plays. There were some missed blocks. Ben Powers got beat fast a few times. Tyree Phillips got beat fast a few times. Like I said, some of Lamar's throws on these quick passes, if they were more on target, it gives your receiver more time to make yards, missed blocks. There was a lot of everything that bothered me in this game. But for me, Greg Roman and his lack of adjustments really stood out, because once we started making those adjustments, and it started on the drive where Sammy Watkins fumbled and it was returned for a touchdown. Once we made adjustments, we showed that we could move the ball, but not attacking the sticks when it's 3rd and 9 really, really bothered me. Throwing short of the sticks and expecting everybody to execute perfectly when really all you needed was one of your guys to win one-on-one. It was incredibly disappointing, Jake. And, it's something to keep an eye on after the season. I know a lot of people want to make a offensive coordinator change now. It's kind of hard to predict that would happen. But after the season, it's definitely something that I think that they'll take what Lamar has to say into consideration and really have to adjust to where this offense is going forward. And my last thing I wanted to say on this was, beginning in the beginning of the season, I was happy with the job that Greg Roman was doing. He expanded the passing game like many expected. He took the new coaches' input. He was making use of Sammy Watkins. There was a lot of things that I liked about Greg Roman, but now we have a run offensive guru as our offensive coordinator, and we have Lamar Jackson as the quarterback, yet we can't get production out of our running backs. So, my opinion on Greg Roman is definitely swayed, and this game wasn't a one-game overreaction, but man, it's a really black mark, and every game's so important in this season.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I mean, this is the kind of offense that he lives for. And if he's going to get another opportunity in the league to be another offensive coordinator or maybe perhaps a head coach, it's going to be with a quarterback that has a similar skill set to a guy like Lamar Jackson, somebody that can run with the ball, somebody that's very mobile at the quarterback position because of, who he's had at his disposal. And, the past couple games haven't really been great for Greg Roman, especially the Miami game. And it's going to be telling what happens in these coming weeks, how the Ravens progress or regress. Hopefully it's a positive trend for us as we are looking forward to the playoffs and hopefully getting in there and having a chance at the dance. So definitely something that's difficult and something to watch going forward.
Yeah, so I'll just say my little 2 cents on this. Greg Roman is like when you want to defend him, he makes it really damn hard for you to defend him. Like in the Miami game, is just one example, but literally, you can go from the previous week to like literally back. It's like I said earlier, it's a pattern, and that's what really what bothers me about this offense. It's like one of those things where like starting out slow is one thing, but when you do that every week, but week by week basis, that's where it becomes an issue to me. And we know we can blame it on execution or players not, you know, not, yeah, not doing their jobs on the field. We can say that, but what are we doing to help them get a better opportunity to do better? Execution. Like putting them in a better chance to win their 1-on-ones or their abilities, or to show their abilities. And that's my biggest problem with this offense. Like how you both guys are just talking about it.
So just, a general question before we get to the Bears, as far as being able to adapt, Lamar is the most blitzed quarterback in the league by at least a couple of metrics that I saw. And teams, of course, saw what Miami did. It wasn't just the blitzing; it was the shoving everybody up to the line of scrimmage, the simulated pressures. They were showing, zero safety back there, whether somebody dropped into coverage from that line of scrimmage or not. How confident are you that in us handling pressure, not only blitzes but looks like that in the future? Jake, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much confidence we should have based on our recent results, but we have seen Lamar play really well out of an empty set. He did that phenomenally in 2019, and I think he can still do that, especially with this group of receivers that we have. Sammy Watkins, when he gets healthier, obviously Rashad Bateman, Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and Devin Duvernay can all be a huge part of that, as well as James Prochet, who has had a couple good games here and there in this 2021 season. So I think it's possible. The problem is the offensive line. It's not just the play calling. It's that you have to help these tackles, Alejandro Villanueva and whoever we have at right tackle. Right now it's Tyree Phillips. Patrick McCary was playing really well, or McCary, I should say. And It really just depends on our health there, because when you're constantly having to give help in those spots, it limits the amount of receivers you have going out for routes, and that certainly makes it easier on the defense to cover the limited amount of players that are actually a threat. So, it all goes hand in hand. I think Lamar is very capable. He's a great quarterback, not just running the ball, but passing the ball. And we know that as Ravens fans, and the NFL should know that by now. And I hope that we see a progression here in this game, and especially going forward against our upcoming opponents.
And Jake, just before Garnett goes, looking at some snap counts, and of course, most teams go 3 wide receivers, by far the most popular combination. You're one running back, you're one tight end, 3 receivers. Ravens do it a lot too. But when I looked at the snap counts for the Ravens skill players, number 1, Hollywood Brown, almost at 76% of the snaps, as you would expect. Number 2, as you would expect, Mark Andrews, almost 73% of the snaps. Guess who's number 3? It's Pat Ricard, 57.64. And that goes back to what Jake's point is, why I wanted to put it in here, because we need to use Pat Ricard not to block for running backs, but for pass protection. Like, I don't have any problem when he's in the game plowing guys over and allowing us to run the ball, but it's a shame that we have to rely on Ricard, and hopefully now Nick Boyle will be able to expand that role a little bit, helping our tackles. Garnett, the thing was in this game is that our offensive line play was, for lack of a better word, fine. Like, when you zero blitz and you're bringing free rushers, really all you're asking your linemen to do is block for a second, because the free rusher's coming right on through. So this wasn't even a function of offensive linemen having terrible games. I mean, they all had negative plays, but it was more of a function of them bringing more rushers than we could block. And so how do you feel when they try to outnumber us? Can we get into a rhythm? Can Lamar get the ball out of his hand to a playmaker quickly and be able to combat that kind of look, Garnett?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to adjust that. I think Lamar will be able to, be able to withstand those things from now on. And I think it's going to be one. I think him and Roman I know they did. They had to come together in the film. Roman literally probably spent a lot of time just communicating with each other about how they should attack those defenses when they do that. So I think it's all possible, man. I'm not going to try to stay long on the subject, but I think they really can move forward in a positive way, like how you said with the tackles. The tackle wasn't even really that bad. I think when Boyle, if he's healthy, he's going to play a critical part, and with the chip block and maybe in the pass pro along with Ricard, and I would like to see those. And the one thing is, I would like to see. We always been talking about this ever since week 1 to week 11. Is the up tempo offense. That's what's one thing I would love to see also us do a lot more of, and I think that would help us up a lot. That would control the personnel, the defensive force personnel coming on and off the field at the times. We can have them, cause them to take a time out to make them adjust and catch their breath, and then that's where we can switch up the game plan switch up the tempo for us on them again as well.
Yeah, good point. We've been calling for that. So let's look ahead to this Bears game now, coming up in a few days. The Bears are 3-6. They're coming off their bye week. Ravens are, of course, 6-3, coming off a mini bye, 10-day break. By the way, the Ravens finished their non-division AFC schedule already, which is kind of an odd quirk. In other words, the only games we have remaining are against the AFC North, our own division, and the NFC. So the Ravens finished 4-2 in those AFC games that I'm talking about. Man, beating Miami would have just been such a huge tiebreaker advantage if we could have went 5-1 in non-AFC division games, or AFC non-division games rather. But the Ravens finished that schedule off. Kansas City, Las Vegas, the Chargers. We had Denver in there, we had the Colts in there, and the Dolphins in there. 4-2 against those teams, not bad. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else in the division can match that. But these out-of-conference, now NFC games become very, very important. How do you feel about the Ravens going into this game? Both teams should be well-rested, although they're very injured. We'll get to the injuries first. But Ravens versus Bears, general thoughts. Garnett, go ahead and give me the first thing on your mind coming up about this game on Sunday.
First thing on my mind is establish and just make sure we're talking about just our offense versus D or just my thought just in general.
Yeah, just general game, like how both teams coming into this game.
Just establish a game plan. Like that's our biggest problem. Like we'll do a 15 play scripted drive and then we'll do that and then immediately look completely different from that drive. We'll dump what was working. It seems like we wouldn't take nothing what was working out of the 15 play drive and then just stick with something that he already had mandatory, Roman had mandatorily already built for that, rest of the game or something. But I say if they, if we're able to run the ball on them, establish that's going to help us out when it comes to the play action or whatever. But that's just my first thought that hit the mind. And then on our defense versus them, a couple blitzes here or there, but don't get too blitz happy against a mobile quarterback like Fields, because of the fact that we talked about it, Jason. The man got an arm, and then if we can't get home one of those times, and he's able to get out of that pocket, he's just like Lamar. Once he gets hot, man, it's rough. But yeah, that's my gut feeling.
So, Jake, what do you think about the Bears heading into this game? Just general thoughts on them as a team.
Yeah.
Talked a lot about us. We're in touch with the Ravens, but how about the Bears?
Yeah, so they're a team that started out kind of slow this year, and they are picking up steam and picking it up pretty fast. Justin Fields was one of my favorite quarterbacks in this past draft. I personally liked him better than Fields, but I saw I liked him better than Trevor Lawrence, but I saw him as, being the second quarterback taken. And that wasn't even the case with Trey Lance, of course. And then Mac Jones after Justin Fields. But, it's another solid quarterback class, and Fields is really picking up steam now. He has the athleticism. The Ravens are really getting one of their first tests kind of going against a guy similar to Lamar, not the same player, but someone with really, really solid speed and really good passing skills, even as a rookie. So it's going to be challenging. Darnell Mooney is going to stretch the field. If Anthony Averett, if Marlon Humphrey, if Chuck Clark, Brandon Stevens, Jimmy Smith, whoever is back there is not paying attention, Mooney will absolutely burn some players. And I hope it's not against us. I hope, the Ravens are completely ready for him. I hope they are ready for Allen Robinson if he's playing in his physicality. But the Bears are no joke. Their defense is solid, and I think it's a group that could limit Lamar. But this is one of those games that, because the Ravens lost to Miami, I think they are going into this one with a plan and some sort of motivation that they absolutely feel like they need to win this one against Chicago. So that gives me some positive momentum, some positive thoughts going into the game. But honestly, it's a good team, and I would not put it past the Chicago Bears to beat the Baltimore Ravens. And I certainly hope it's Baltimore on the winning side of this one.
Yeah, interesting matchup. So we need to spend some time this week, more than other weeks actually, on the injury report, because it's stock full for both teams. But let's just concentrate on the Ravens. As of now, we're recording this Thursday night, so we're going to have to see how Friday practices go. But Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, Brandon Williams, still not back at practice. Latavius Murray, Patrick McCary, Tavon, all limited at practice. And Boyle, full practice, back to full practice. So this may actually be the week that Nick Boyle comes back. But Lamar, Hollywood, wouldn't expect Brandon Williams to play, but I believe that Hollywood and Lamar would play. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I agree with that. I think that going for, looking at the report, it's somewhat easy to tell who's going to be playing, who's not. Brandon Williams, that That's crazy. I'm about to say this, but back in the day, we used to say, man, that used to hurt us not having Brandon Williams. But now it's like, darn, darn, I I wish he was there. But man, does he really make a difference anymore? That would really hurts me inside because I used to be a huge, still am a huge fan of Big Baby. But shoot, that just gives me more. Like I said, we've been me and you, Jason. I think also Jake. We've been talking about Broderick Washington having more opportunities, and this is another chance for him to get more snaps. So hopefully more, more PT. But Hollywood, I think Hollywood has an opportunity to blow this game up. To be honest with you, against their secondary, along with the Bateman, and also shoot, hopefully, what I would like to see is just more opportunities for, your guy James Prochet the second to get some play time as well.
Yep.
Jake. So yeah, when the injuries though, Jake, Lamar, Hollywood, any concern with the lack of chemistry? And then what would you expect back from Latavius Murray this week? Do you think he's coming back for his normal 8 to 10 carries?
Yeah, so I'll hit on the first thing first. Hollywood and Lamar, I almost guarantee both of them play. I think Rashad Bateman plays as well. I think this is his first week missing for this week of practice with an illness. Is probably the same thing that whatever those guys had. And Latavius Murray, yeah, I expect him to be part of the game plan. Definitely some goal line looks, maybe some pass pro here and there. Devontae Freeman, though, to me, has been the most impressive running back out of the group. And, you saw it on Twitter this week. You're with it. Nate Dogg is who I want to see out there as far as the other running backs. Obviously, the Ravens released Le'Veon Bell. I hope he can come back to the practice squad. If he's gone, I wish him well. He was a good player for the Ravens, a good guy completely. So I doubt he's listening to this, but we love you and we hope you have good success elsewhere, just not against the Ravens. And I hope Nate McCrary gets his shot because in the preseason he showed us some really nice things, and I think a young, unproven player like that could also provide a spark to this running game. So that's kind of where I am with that.
So yeah, so Garnett, starting with you on this one too. The Bears have some injuries on their side too. The most notable player is Khalil Mack, who still hasn't practiced. He's been out about a month, so would not expect to see Khalil Mack in this game. But they have some other guys who aren't practicing too. 3 notable players: Akeem Hicks, great, very good to great defensive tackle, however you want to phrase it. He could give the Ravens a lot of problems. He's not practicing. Allen Robinson, long time, very good receiver in this league. He hasn't been practicing. And then Danny Trevathan, their third linebacker, run stuffer, somebody that you could see on the field in these heavier 2 tight end, 3 tight end looks for the Ravens. He's not practicing as well. So how about those losses for the Bears? If Hicks can't play, I believe that really kind of changes this game and what the Ravens can do on offense.
I'll start right there. That tremendously changed what we do against them, to be honest with you, because Akeem Hicks is a force, like a brute force down the middle, which if he's not there, that allows us to do what I think we need to start to develop, which is a interior run game. And when it comes to Khalil Mack with the foot injury, yes, as you said, he's been missing practice for a month's worth of games, and also just practice. I don't know. With veterans like that, this is weird. Like with him missing it, I don't know if he's gonna play or not. I can't even say doubt it, but a lot of the old veterans like that, they don't really need practice to get out there. But all depends on how he feels on that foot. Now, Danny Trevathan, to me, him and Rolando Smith. I said no, not Rolando Smith. Roquan. Funny story about Roquan.
Hey, talk about the Georgia Bulldogs. You better pronounce his name right.
Yeah. Roquan. It's hey, watch this though. It's funny though. Roquan Swift is literally from my mom's hometown in Macon County. So I don't know the dude, but I know his mom and dad, which is crazy. So I should know him, right? But I don't. Anyway, but those linebackers, those guys, Danny Trevathan and Smith together, man, they're a nasty duo. I think Smith has over like 93 tackles, but when it comes to Danny Trevathan, he's like a sturdy veteran that always finds his way to either gets his way in the back of the backfield with a sack, or he gets his hand on the ball. He's pretty good linebacker in coverage. But having I think it is a knee injury, that's gonna play a role. And then from Alec Ogletree as well with the ankle. So if you got two, like I just want to know who the third linebacker is if they even have one. And
You said all three. You said all three of them.
Yeah,
Roquan's the Mike. Ogletree's been playing, and I expect him to play. But Trevathan is that third linebacker, the thumper, who may not play.
Okay.
What you got, Jake? You're on mute, buddy.
Two Bulldogs. Sorry about that. Alec Ogletree was also a Georgia Bulldog. So Chicago knows what's up when it comes to drafting. They haven't been the best team, but they got some good Georgia players there.
Nice. I can always count on Jake to bring that back to fruition. So yeah, let's get into the trenches now. When the Ravens have the ball, offensive line versus the Bears front. Now the Bears do have some big guys on the defensive line. They have Eddie Goldman, their nose tackle, Angelo Blackson, Belial Nichols. So even if Hicks doesn't play, they have some quality depth on the interior. Mack is the one that really hurts them. And of course, they have Robert Quinn on the other side, who's playing really, really well, still producing with all his experience and miles that he has on this in the league. And you look at the Ravens on the other side. The big question this week, I believe, will be right tackle, whether McCary plays or not. Not holding my breath for that because he just got back to practice. It's a high ankle sprain. So when you look at this Bears defensive front versus the Ravens offensive line, Garnett, start us off on this one. What do you see in this matchup? What do you like? What don't you like?
I don't like Goldman. We straight up with you. That's a big joker, man. And I think he's gonna give Bradley Bozeman some fits a little bit, and it's gonna be tough, man. There's some big dudes. I know a lot of people will talk about how our O line is a huge line, but like this is like Goliath versus Goliath down there to me, and it's really all about are we able to move them, or can we get them to move where they don't want to move at with a couple counters, or I think this is where we might be able to do a counter bash sighting in this game. Catch them off. Just catch them lacking, as they say. But yeah, but in the interior though, I think it's going to be tough. But I want to know who would be the replacement for Khalil Mack, because I think that's where the ball is going to go to in that view. I think.
Yeah, they've had a couple of guys try to pick up. Travis Gibson, second-year player, will be filling in there. So it's a tremendous drop-off. It's a replacement player at best, Garnett. So they really don't have anybody to step up and fill anywhere close to Khalil Mack. Robert Quinn's going to demand the attention.
And then on top of that, I know I don't even know if it's worth mentioning, but they did sign Bruce Irvin, the savvy veteran. So I don't know if it might, hey man, get out there, you're a veteran, you figure this out, or how they're going to do it. But yeah, I think wherever we're going to be going the opposite side of Robert Quinn a couple times to test out that young guy.
Yeah, Jake. So Garnett mentioned we're going to have problems moving these guys around straight up because they're big, strong guys. Do you think we can hold up on the edge? Can we help out whoever's blocking Robert Quinn? And can we handle the other side?
Yeah, I feel pretty well. I feel pretty good about it, I should say. If Khalil Mack is not playing, if Mack is playing, then we have our hands full because Robert Quinn is a good player and Khalil Mack is a great player. And, Patrick McCary, if he can get back, will help a ton. And if he's not out there, then, we're going to have some issues because Tyree Phillips hasn't been great at right tackle. I think most people that study the Ravens games would agree that he's not really a tackle at this point. He seems like an interior player. And that's going to be an issue. But it really just depends on who's out there. Eddie Goldman, just like Garnett said, is an issue for me, and Akeem Hicks is also a really big issue. I think he's an even better player than Goldman, but both of them are really solid. And Bradley Bozeman, Kevin Zeitler, and our left guard Ben Powers in this case would all be going against those guys. So it's going to be a tough matchup for sure. And then I can't say anything without leaving out Roquan Smith. And he is a absolute monster at the linebacker position. He was great at Georgia. Looked every bit the part of a defensive player of the year type candidate, and I think he's becoming that with the Bears. So it's gonna be an issue. Lamar's gonna have to deal with it. It's gonna be interesting what kind of scheme they bring at us and what kind of pressure they send, because Roquan's great, and the safeties are really good players. They don't have as much depth at corner, but
well, we're going to get into all that, but I want to talk about the lines and stick specifically with it.
Yeah.
Kevin Zeitler to me is a person that's played really, really well for the Ravens, and he's going to have to step up in this game, because basically whoever's lined up over Powers is going to need Bozeman's help. And Kevin Zeitler is going to be the guy who's left one-on-one. So if Akeem Hicks is playing and he's less than 100%, or if you still have Goldman, you still have Blackson, you still have Nichols in there, it's going to be an important game for Kevin Zeitler to keep playing well. Any thoughts on the Ravens offensive line before we move on to the run game, guys?
Yes, sir. So this goes back to you, bud, Jason. So what's the chances of your guy getting on the field if Phillips doesn't do his job correctly?
Yes, I'm very interested to see if Cedric Ogbuehi is active for this game and possibly could play. And we've seen with Harbaugh the last 2 years, he's not afraid to rotate. So maybe he does what he did with Fluker last year, and they mess around and give Ogbuehi a couple of series. But I would like to see that, especially against if they have somebody lined up against Ogbuehi who's not named Robert Quinn. So any of the other guys they have in there, I think Ogbuehi could really handle that. And, he's a very quick-footed individual, looks pretty good against the bull rush. So I'd be excited to see it for sure. But yeah, the run game for the Ravens, time to put those numbers up on the screen. The Ravens are still 5th in yards per attempt. They're averaging 4.9 yards per carry. The Bears' run defense is 18th, allowing 4.4 yards per carry, which is really average. The league average is 4.3, 4.4. So the Bears have a good run defense against this Ravens run offense, which of course is very Lamar oriented. How do you see our backs matching up? Now, you mentioned Roquan Smith. I mean, that's a hard man to avoid in the run game. He is going to show up around the ball. He is going to wreck shop. So from a talent standpoint, these Bears linebackers versus the Ravens running backs, it looks like a mismatch. Can the scheme, can we generate something out of the backs in this game? Jake, go ahead. Start us off, bud.
Yeah, in this one, I absolutely think we can. And that's in large part due to the potential of Nick Boyle playing. I really think he's going to be playing in this game. If he's not, it's certainly the next game, because I don't know how long we can be strung along by John Harbaugh and the news that Nick Boyle is practicing. So I think it'll be this one. Patrick Ricard has been playing at a Pro Bowl level this year. You get Nick Boyle in there. Mark Andrews is a really good blocker at this point of his career as well. And you got 3 guys outside of the offensive linemen that can really move bodies. And I think that's going to help a ton when you're talking about Devontae Freeman, you're talking about Nate McCrary, Latavius Murray, you name it, at the running back position. And then, of course, Roquan Smith in the whole Bears defense is going to have to focus on Lamar Jackson. So I think we are going to be able to run the ball at least at an average pace in this one, and potentially much more considering how bad the Miami game was and how much motivation the Ravens should have going into this game.
So Garnett, when I put it to you, I'm going to ask you like this. the carries and who should be active for this game among the running backs. And we've seen Freeman take control of this backfield. So you assume he's going to get the majority of the carries. Lamar's going to get his. When it comes to Latavius Murray, Tyson Williams, and Jake, mentioned Nate McCrary, just not holding my breath. I just hope that it happens. But how do you see the non-Lamar, non-Freeman carries being dished out? Say there's about 10 or 12 of those. How do you see them going? Are they all going to Murray? Tyson going to get some?
I think it all depends on just health of Murray. To be honest with you, from what I saw a couple clips of him just doing little handoffs. It looks like he was a little ginger on it, but I'm not sure. Maybe I can't put too
Definitely
much
wasn't full speed, right?
Yeah,
Definitely weren't
exactly.
full speed clips.
Yeah, exactly. So you really can't give a feel for it, and that goes. So when it comes to the carries, though, we know it's gonna be a couple. It's gonna be a couple end arounds with Duvernay, so we know that's gonna happen. A couple sweeps. Uh, you said other than Freeman, right?
I mean, spell it out to me. How many carries do you think everybody's going to get in this game?
Okay, so Duvernay gets like at least two. I'll say Duvernay gets 2 carries. Tyson Williams maybe you might get maybe 2 as well, which is and that's just my gut feeling because of the doghouse and he doesn't do special teams. Wink, wink. Uh, yeah, it's gonna be tough. I say Freeman. I say 12 carries. It's one of those things where we do weird things with these running backs. We don't let nobody get hot. We just everything is just personnel based, that's what bothers me about when it comes to the backfield. So me trying to give out numbers for a backfield 1 week where like my biggest thing, if if our backs in the backfield don't get double digits in carries, that's most of the times where we're losing, and that what really bothers me. So for the rest of it, I want to hold my breath for Nate because I want to see him in there. I would say at least give him at least 6 carries. I'm hoping he gets that bare minimum, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, he has to get active first and want to, be active for game day,
Right.
which, hasn't happened. So we'll have to see about that. How about, Tyson over under carries, Jake? What do you think? Is he going to be used at all in this game, or is it just going to be Murray and Freeman?
I don't think it's just going to be Murray and Freeman. It could be Tyson. It could be Nate. There definitely will be 3 running backs involved. And I think the third running back in terms of carries is going to be a low number. That could be Tyson as a low number. And it could be Nate as a higher number, like Garnett said. It could also be Murray, with that higher 6 to 8 carries, and Freeman with the high number. So like 12 to 15. So who really knows at this point? The Ravens running game is kind of an enigma and something really difficult to figure out. But hopefully Greg Roman and the coaching staff have worked on that. They have an idea of what it's going to look like going forward, and there is chemistry between Lamar Jackson and the running back at the mesh point if they're going to go with some of those read option type looks. And I would just love to see some success on the ground game besides Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts that I have on this. The first of all is that if Le'Veon Bell was let go, I believe that is a sure sign that Murray is ready for some action. But it's also, in a way, a vote of confidence for me in Tyson Williams, because they wouldn't have let Le'Veon Bell go if they thought he was far and away. They didn't want some young legs on the team. They want the young legs on the team. And then sometimes, Harbaugh called out Tyson this week, which is rare for him. And he threw down the gauntlet. He's got to do this better. He's got to do that better. He's got to play special teams. So for me, I've seen a lot of those things go the other way, where you call out. I'm going to call out Jake Vogel because I'm leaning on him this week. So a little part of me says that Tyson's going to get 3 to 5 carries, which, by the way, is 3 to 5 more carries than he's got in the last 2 weeks. Like, it don't sound like much, but maybe Tyson does get a little chunk here. If I had to guess, I'd say 3 or 4 carries for Tyson, and Murray getting, maybe 8 to 10 with, obviously Freeman and Lamar going the rest of the way. So as we get into the Ravens passing game versus this Bears defense, this is the one area of the game, and we were unsure about how the run it could play out. but against the pass, Chicago's having some problems defending the pass, just like the Ravens are. They are 26th in the league, giving up 8.0 yards per attempt. The Ravens are still pretty good passing the ball. They are 8th in the league at 7.8 yards per attempt. Chicago has some real issues in the secondary. Now, they have Jalen Johnson, who is a very good player. But on the other side, Kendall Vildor has really had some problems. So this is an area that the Ravens can exploit. Talked about the Bears' heavy use of linebackers. Eddie Jackson banged up. He might play, he might not be. Tayshaun Gibson, unproven player. So the Bears have a good pass rush, have a stout front four, but they've been really poor covering receivers. Talk to me about this matchup, Jake. Why don't you go ahead and start us off? Ravens passing game against the Bears pass defense.
Yeah, so each and every week so far, Rashad Bateman is improving on his stat line, on his fantasy points, pretty much. That doesn't matter to the Ravens, but it is important in a way because I think this is a breakout game for Rashad because Marquise Brown is clearly the number one wide receiver on the team at this point. He's played really well this year, and Mark Andrews is the other guy, and Rashad Bateman is that number 3. If the Bears don't have a corner better than Kendall, then I mean Bateman could have a heck of a game. He could have well over 80 yards. He could get his first touchdown in the game. And I really don't think Marquise is capped in this one. I think he could still have a solid outing, even though Jalen Johnson has been a good player. And I think Mark Andrews could still have a solid game, even though their safeties are pretty good in Chicago. But it all comes down to the trenches. We're talking about the passing game right now, but the way the Bears attack the Ravens' offensive line and Lamar Jackson specifically is going to dictate how this game goes. And Greg Roman and the Ravens have a big part in that. They can be the dictator of this one. They can decide, hey, we're bringing this group of guys out on the field and you can adjust to what we do. Or they can play defensive and say, oh, the Bears brought out these guys. We better make sure we have enough protection in here and not have enough guys go out on routes and kind of be stuck in this situation where we only have 3 or 4 routes going out on every single play. So it really just depends. But personally, I think the Ravens receivers are better than the Bears corners. And I think Lamar Jackson is a very good enough passer to make them pay in this one.
So Garnett read the numbers for the Bears, 26th in the league. They're giving up 8 yards per attempt. Ravens have been pretty good against the pass. This really needs to be where we exploit this team, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then at the Veldor,
Kinder Vildor, yeah.
Veldor. At the Veldor, man, there's Artie Burns, and if you don't know who Artie Burns is, probably not a real Baltimore fan. The reason I say that, he's a former Steeler, man. And But anyway, with that being said, I think this is a game that we can really, like you said, we can expose their secondary. But at the same time, this is where I somewhat, I challenge Greg Roman to, see, to adjust if they play us in a certain look, put us in the best opportunity to succeed. Take what the defense gives us. Basically, that's the best way I can put it, man.
Right. So on the receivers, you don't have any confidence. It's more about how we're going to attack them. So let's get right into that, Garnett. You start us off on this. So the Bears play a lot of two safety looks. I mean, they're keeping guys in the back. It's very basic looking defense. They have Duke Shelley is their slot corner. So Artie Burns, it takes a little bit for him to have to get on the field. We're not going to see too much Artie probably. We'll see a lot of Duke Shelley. Jalen Johnson doesn't leave the field, and of course, Vildor. But what do you think are the odds that the Bears change this, two safety kind of safe looking look and go with like what Miami has done and other teams have done to us? Miami was the kind of team we mentioned last week. They were a Ravens Patriots type. We were expecting it and we couldn't handle. Will the Bears give us the same thing, Garnett, or are they going to stray away from their own identity to try to press ours?
I don't think so. Eddie Jackson is a top dog, all pro type of free safety they got. But when you look at their secondary, they don't have like Dolphins are built pretty darn good on the outside at corner because of Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. You have two like Pro Bowl caliber, all pro caliber corners to do that. And hey, we're gonna do this in the inside, and I need you guys to maintain out there. And I don't think the Bears can do that. That's my opinion when it comes to their secondary.
It's probably very good point. I mean, the Bears don't have the cover corners that Miami does, and they're not used to running that kind of defense. So it wouldn't surprise me. Jake, a lot of the Bears blitzing comes from your guy, Roquan. Excellent blitzer. You're going to see these linebackers crash. How do you feel about the Bears defensive game plan? What are they going to force us to do? What can we counter to it?
Yeah, I think they're going to force some quick looks for Lamar Jackson. Hopefully, some quick passes, maybe a little bit more slants and quick game than screens to Hollywood. Devin Duvernay is certainly capable of catching a screen and taking it for a number of positive yards, at least 10 yards. It just depends how it's blocked up, but he can run through contact a little bit better than what Hollywood Brown can do at this point. So it's going to be difficult. Lamar doesn't seem to be great under pressure if it's actually getting to him. If he sees it a while before it gets there, he's super capable at maneuvering it and getting around it. But these faster players that can kind of keep up with him and force him to make errant throws or force him to get rid of the ball are difficult matchups for us. So Roquan is definitely one of those guys. He's not quite as quick as Javon Holland, simply because he's bigger. He's not going to be as fast as that, but he is a hammer in the run game, and he's going to be a challenge all day for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offensive line and the running backs to pick up. So I think we're going to be able to do it in the passing game. I think Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet are going to be able to pick that stuff up and convert quick, easy passes. It's just on Greg Roman, John Harbaugh, and the coaching staff to develop a game plan that really takes advantage of what the Bears are trying to do.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how much Ricard plays in this game. I think it's dependent on Sammy Watkins' health, obviously, is part of it. But the other part to me is, this is a team that's probably not going to be, exotic blitzes, even though we're expecting to see it because we struggled. There are going to be some simple linebacker blitzes. They're not going to rush cover corners and stress their safeties. They're going to have to get creative with their pass rush. They're missing Khalil Mack. So I could see us actually, going more 11 personnel in this game, really using Sammy along with Rashad and Hollywood all on the field at the same time with Mark Andrews. That just seems like too much for this Bears secondary to cover. It's tough for good secondaries to cover. But yeah, I would love to see us spread these guys out and say, look, we know you got a big, bad men on the inside. They're not great pass rushers. We're going to make sure Robert Quinn doesn't get to us. We're going to make sure Roquan doesn't get to us. And we're going to stress you with our receivers. What do you think? Do you think we'll see less of Ricard in this game, or are we still going to have to lean on him to help with the pass blocking of somebody like Robert Quinn?
I think all depends on I say at the beginning, how the flow of the game goes. If we feel like it's like that first quarter is like a test almost. If we can get by with the tackles and maybe a back tipping out the backfield, that we might not see a heavy amount of Patrick Ricard, but at the same time, if they are causing us to get pressure in the backfield and they're not allowing Lamar to go through his reads, soundly, I think Patrick Ricard was going to play a key role in this game. It's just all about the feel of the game at the beginning to me, and also Sammy, depending on himself, I think he's going to be when it's health, I think it's going to come back, with a, I owe you guys type of game, and also hopefully he comes out on the field a little bit early just to figure out where's the out of bounds and the goalpost is, and we'll be good.
Yeah. Well, this Bears defense, it hasn't been good the last 3 games, giving up an even 100 points. So, for your math majors out there, that's 33 and a third. Nice 3 number. But, on offense, we switch it to the Bears offense now versus the Ravens defense. The Bears season high in points came against the Steelers in their last game. And that was a whole 27 points. So it's not an explosive offense. Against this Ravens defense, which has given up big plays, but has been really good down to down. Now, this Ravens defense, very good in the red zone. Ravens defense, very good on third down. The Bears offense, not good on third down, much like the Ravens. So here is an interesting matchup. Bright young quarterback in Justin Fields versus this Ravens defense. We're going to start on the lines. Now, the Chicago Bears have an offensive line that is under a lot of pressure. Much maligned. They're a very good run blocking unit. It's evidenced in, multiple backs performing well. Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, both good backs, but the Chicago Bears are blocking that up pretty good. Their pass blocking, the opposite. Fields is getting beaten, battered. They lead the league in sacks allowed. Had that number written down. I believe they've allowed 33 sacks already.
Correct.
So this offensive line for the Bears is really, really a hit or miss group. Garnett, how do you feel about the matchup? Ravens defensive front versus the Bears O-line.
I think if we get home early at the beginning, I think we could do very, very well. Jason Peters, that man's still doing his thing, but I think if you put Owe over there, I think he can win a couple one-on-ones, or Houston, or how we want to switch it up. But I think we can put a pressure on him big time. I think we'll be able to collapse the pocket from the outside, which is rare for, I'm saying rare for us, but I think those one-on-one battles can be won very effectively overall. Like, out of all the games we played this year, I think this is where you're going to see those sack numbers start coming in from the outside more than anything, where we don't have to really depend on, the interior pressure like I've been crying for this whole year. And I think we're going to do good. Like they like you said, they're dead last, man. And that's we got to get there. Like, that's just me.
So, Jake, any concerned about this Bears offensive line when it comes to their ability to run block? The past, Garnett mentioned that we're going to have some opportunities, but in pass rush. But as far as run blocking, holding, the news that Derek Wolfe is not coming back. Brandon Williams banged up. So we're really going to be relying on Justin Ellis, Matabike, Broderick Washington in there to try to do some work for us. Can we hold up against the run, and can we get some pressure in the pass game?
Yeah, I think it's going to be in big part on Patrick Queen, on Josh Bynes, on Calais Campbell, and Justin Matabike to take control of this one. Justin Houston and Odafe Owe are going to have their hands full trying to get to the quarterback in pass rushing situations. So I'm hoping those guys can handle the run game. And I think they're going to be able to, because the running backs are good in Chicago. Of course, they have some talent back there, and they've rotated in and out with David Montgomery, battling some injuries here and there. Khalil Herbert, Damian Williams, those guys being solid players, but the Ravens, on a down to down basis, have been pretty solid against the run, especially since Josh Bynes has come in and solidified that unit with the linebackers. So I think it's going to be another one of those games that they just have to stay disciplined and attack their gaps and just trust the guys in front of them. So I'm not too afraid of what Chicago can do on the ground outside of Justin Fields, because he's going to be able to break one here and there, just like Lamar is able to a different extent, though, because he's not the same animal as Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar is in a class by himself, one of one, no doubt about it. Justin Fields, very promising after a bad start for him really getting things going. But in this Bears ground game, now they rank sixth in the NFL. So the Ravens are fifth. They're right behind them. 4.6 yards per carry. The Ravens run defense, still top 10. They're only allowing 4.2 yards per carry. That's 10th in the league. The Bears run they've ran some Wildcat. They had it's a zone run scheme, which we're very used to. There was some read option in there. So a lot of ways for this Bears defense to slice it. Garnett, how do you see the challenge with David Montgomery? And, Jake, when you speak on this also, I wanted to hear, do you think that we're going to have problems tackling a guy like David Montgomery, who, if you don't come at him full force, he's going to drag you for a little bit?
All right, yeah. So when it comes, you hit around the head about the missed tackles, man. Like you can't arm tackle that Joker, man. That's probably one of the right behind, or if not equal to Derrick Henry. You're just one of the strongest pound for pound running backs in the NFL. Just arm tackles don't work. If you wrap up, you better drive your feet. Just like going dead leg and wrapping up ain't gonna work. He's gonna drag you. And this is one of those things where this is where all the questions can be answered about Patrick Queen in this game. To me, like this is one of those old school high school football. I heard you're the best running back in the county. Well, I'm the best linebacker in the county, and basically this is where one man leaves and one man stays. Like that's the best way to put it, man. So I can't wait to see that matchup, just because I used to play linebacker myself back in the day. But this is going to be one of those tough ones where I think Calais Campbell, I think he's going to have fun in the middle. This is going to be one of his fun games for him. And also Josh Bynes, I think he's going to be able to do some things. But my biggest concern is the play action of what they do off of play action. I just want to see how disciplined are we when it comes to those linebackers when reading those situations, I should say.
Good call. And another thing that we've seen from Queen, well, we saw earlier in the year that he's cleaned up, is just trying to just take somebody out, not form tackle, shoulder, to just use his momentum to knock somebody. Jake, David Montgomery, I'm sure you scouted him in the draft. Great contact balance, almost like Javonte Williams. So he's not the kind of guy that you can just run into really hard and expect him to fall over. I mean, he's got extreme strength and balance there from that guy.
Yeah, you can't tackle him high at all. He's one of those guys that's going to run you over. You have to get him in his legs and bring him down completely, because you're right. He has that contact balance. It's going to be a tough matchup. Patrick Queen's not the biggest linebacker. Josh Bynes, is a little bit older, but, both of those guys in unison can do their job. And I think they're going to be able to stop the running backs in Chicago. So hopefully that's the case. And really, as we get past the running backs, it's going to be the tight ends for me, because I'm big on fantasy football, and this matchup is just weird. It's one of those that maybe the Bears don't have the best offense, but if I'm looking at positions that could be solid in DFS, daily fantasy sports, it's going to be tight ends. It's going to be tight ends for Chicago, because Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham could both be solid plays in fantasy football, just because of what the Ravens have allowed this year. And I hope that's not the case at all. But if I was a betting man, I would say, one of those guys is going to have a touchdown in this game, pretty easily.
Well, let's switch to the pass game then. So we transitioned into that. Jake's mentioned that the tight ends, obviously Allen Robinson, very established player. They have Darnell Mooney, who Justin Fields, since he took over, has actually targeted Mooney more than Allen Robinson. 44 targets for Mooney, 85 for Allen Robinson, or 35, 44 to 35 that Allen Robinson had there. So the Ravens obviously have struggled against the pass. They are 30th in yards per attempt, 8.1. They only have 19 sacks on the year. The Bears, though, their pass attack isn't very much. It isn't much better They're 26th in the league, 6.5 yards per attempt. Now, you compare that to the Ravens, who are up around 8 yards per pass attempt. The Bears are only at 6.5. So how do you see this matchup between the Bears' young quarterback? Ravens are going to throw a lot of looks at him, I would suppose. You have a receiver that's probably mentally half checked out in Allen Robinson, didn't get his new contract, not being targeted. A lot of things working. The Ravens giving up big plays in the secondary, but they do seem to match up well at corner. Jake, why don't you expand on the tight end advantage that you think the Bears have, how we're going to try to cover Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham?
It's tough for me because the Ravens absolutely blanketed Mike Gesicki, a guy that I have a ton of respect for. He had 7 targets this past week on Thursday and 0 catches. So it's not that the Ravens aren't able to stop tight end production. It's just that there's a couple guys. Jimmy Graham has been in the league a long time. I could see him getting not a ton of points, but a touchdown reception, maybe a couple catches in this game. And then, of course, Cole Kmet, who has come on strong recently for the Chicago Bears as kind of a check down weapon for Justin Fields. So, it's going to be a tough matchup for Chuck Clark, for Jimmy Smith, for Brandon Stevens, Marlon Humphrey, if he's on either of these guys. It's not that they're the best tight ends in the league. It's just that they're going to be targeted. And then Darnell Mooney, to me, as we get into the receivers, is going to be, one of the more targeted players in this game. It's somebody that kind of fits the mold of what Justin Fields had at Ohio State with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, as we mentioned before the show started. Somebody that's fast, that can work out of the Z, work out of the slot, and get downfield in a hurry. So he makes a lot of sense, as well as somebody that could be effective, but not necessarily a game breaker if the Ravens realize, what they're going against.
So Garnett, I wanted to ask you something specific here. Now, Jake mentioned the success that we had last week on Gesicki. Marlon saw a lot of Mike Gesicki that game. It was pretty obvious on big downs. We wanted Marlon covering their best guy. I wanted to ask you about how to cover this Bears team. Now, it seems like kind of an obvious matchup to me, to where Marlon, you put him on the bigger receiver in Allen Robinson, Anthony Averett, a smaller, faster corner on their smaller, faster receiver, and Darnell Mooney. Not a lot of depth on this Bears group, by the way. They're going to use their tight ends a lot, 2 backs even at times, a lot. How would you disperse Marlon and Anthony Averett? Do you leave them on their side? Do you leave them on a guy? How do you think those guys match up with Mooney and Robinson?
Mooney and Robinson. So I'll just start off, depending on if Robinson's on the field. I'm putting Marlon on him. Mooney, it doesn't get talked about a lot, but he is one hell of a route runner for his side. Like, fast, explosive, everything, man. Just one hell of a route runner. And unless we're pressing up Marlon on him, I'll be fine. I like that. But if we're playing off-man coverage like we've been playing a lot, I don't want that. I don't want Marlon on him. That's my preference. And then with Averett, I would probably put Averett on Mooney or whatever. Like how you discussed about their receiving core, I looked at it earlier, man. They got a track team. Like this, like you got Goodwin, Jakeem Grant Sr. Let's see who else I was saying. Yeah,
Demarius Byrd in there, but he hasn't really played for him.
Yeah, so it's nothing but a huge, nothing but a track team they have out there. And then literally the biggest receiver they got is Allen Robinson. So like how you guys were talking about, is tight end heavy, tight end eccentric. But I really just how they come out and figure out who's the go-to guy, and then literally I'll put okay Marlon. Cole Kmet is the guy, so we're gonna switch up the rotation to him. With the adjustment. So yeah, I'm that's what I would do. I'll start out the gate with him, just with the basic on Robinson.
Okay, so how do we attack them as a defense? Overall, it's time for our favorite segment of the full wink, half wink, no wink. Going first on this one again. And you know what? I'm going to open up a can of wink in this game. I think this is the game for it. Their receivers do not threaten me. I believe that we have an answer for Mooney. I believe that we have an answer for Robinson. Cole Kmet is just now getting in this offense, even without Deshaun Elliott, which scares the daylights out of me. I feel like we should pressure Justin Fields. And the one thing that I want to see is I would like people to check out the cut up I did of Adafio Way this week, because people have been complaining all year, basically, about Adafi being asked to drop into coverage and asked to do this and asked to do that. Well, against the Dolphins, they pretty much let him rush. And when he wasn't rushing, he was basically a spy. So what the Ravens would do, and I expect them to do in this game, is take a half of the Chicago line, probably the left of the defense, their right tackle, right guard, center. Send a bunch of people over there. Send your Calais. Let Justin Houston rush, Matabike, whoever you have to collapse that side, and have Odafe sitting right there, right in front of Justin Fields, just waiting for him to roll out. To counteract his legs, Odafe is fast enough to catch Justin Fields. One of the few, defensive ends that can keep up with a guy like Justin Fields, but he can. But yes, I would like to see us blitz, but even if we don't blitz, I want to see us get creative with our rushes to flush Justin Fields out away from what he wants to do, put him under some pressure in this game. I've been, half winking it and no winking it, but I think this is the game to kind of turn this loose.
For me, I don't want to. It's crazy. I guess I don't want to wink today.
I know you don't. I knew you wouldn't.
No, I just like this is one of those games where we just read off the stats where they gave up all the sacks in the world with 33, and they're leading, poor quarterback they got over there. I feel like I want to see coverage sacks. Like let these guys win 1-on-1s and just let them feast, man. That's how I feel because of the fact that the worst thing that I would hate to see is one of those blitzes don't get home, and then Justin Fields either he breaks loose for a run or he just like we were discussing about his arm, strong hell of an arm he has.
Yes.
And then next thing you know, he started getting on a roll. He gets hot and he flicks that thing 60 yards into a busted coverage like we've been doing consistently every week. Man, that's my biggest fear, man. It's one of the things where no wink for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between you guys, and I normally I'm in the middle of the screen, but
yeah, it don't feel right. Doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those games. I like to start out like Garnett is talking about, 4-man rush, get to Justin Fields. Their offensive line's not great this year, and then as the game is progressing, as we're building a lead, maybe you start incorporating some more of those schemed pressure looks. Maybe there's a 5-man rush. Maybe there's a 6-man rush, but that's because we're already up in the game and we can really get after Justin Fields. But that's kind of where I am with that defensive game plan because, quite frankly, Justin Fields is a good player and he's developing a lot. And I just wouldn't want to give up the same kind of things that you guys are talking about. Neither of you want to give that up. So I'm right there with you. I kind of am in between both of you, the no wink, the full wink. I'm really the kind of the half wink guy in this week.
Yeah. So our personalities, I've been mostly a half winker. So I'm not so far as to where Garnett. But this week, man, I really mean it. I would like to turn it up a notch. If Tavon plays, I could see him getting a sack. I could see Brandon Stevens getting his first sack. I could see it coming from the DBs. I could see even Marlon getting one in this game. I really could because, like, when I look at the Bears offense and you're telling me the most they've scored all year is 27 points. Like, okay, if we take a chance and we give them a touchdown or, busted coverage, it's a chance I'm willing to take to try to get a couple of turnovers for once on this team. Like we don't have playmakers on defense. Marcus Peters out. We don't have anybody who consistently takes the ball away in the air. You can only rely on force and fumbles so much. So I want to test the rookie in this game. So it'll be interesting to see what we do come back next week and see how that works out. So final thoughts on this game. let's start out. Let's do it a little different. Where do the Ravens have to perform in this game? What unit? What area of the game? What do we have to take advantage of? And then we'll go to like the opposite of that. But first and foremost, what do the Ravens have to do to win this game?
Yeah, so I'll start. For me, it's always trenches. That battle matters in every single game, and it's going to be a tough one against this Bears defensive line, especially if Akeem Hicks is playing, if Khalil Mack is playing. It's going to be a tough matchup for Baltimore, but that matters. And then right after that, for me, it's going to be on Baltimore's offensive side versus the Bears defense. It is the wide receiver versus the corner battle, and I think that's one the Ravens can win. The depth there is seriously better than what we've seen in Baltimore in a really long time, if not ever, with Hollywood, with Rashad Bateman, Sammy Watkins when he's healthy, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet. Those guys are great, and they have a ton of potential in this offense, and I think Mark Andrews is the cherry on top, if not, a key role in that whole thing. So for me, it's the trenches. It's always a turnover battle. We have to hold on to the ball. We cannot give it up. Lamar cannot throw interceptions. We cannot fumble the ball away. And then, of course, on defense, it's the opposite. We need to take the ball away from Justin Fields, force some fumbles, intercept a pass or two, and we are rolling to another victory. But after this tough loss against Miami, that's what the Ravens need to do. They need to come into Chicago and take what is theirs. Even if it's not theirs, they need to take it and make it theirs. So that is where I am 100%, and I hope you guys are right there with me.
So when it comes to the offense, for me, man, it's all starts with Greg Roman, Lamar, and whoever hell is on the headset. Get the plays in from the booth to the sideline. Get the personnel on the field. Make adjustments to what you're able. Have time on the clock to make adjustments, and then just go from there, man. It's all about communication and execution on that side of the ball, man. That's the main thing that I took away from that game. I felt like a lot of things were from the Miami game. And I feel like we can do a lot of, if we fix that, the offense is going to be okay. Now, the defense, on the other hand, is basically if you can repeat what y'all did against Miami for a full 60 minutes with the offense helping out and not spotting the defense of the Bears 7, then we're good. We're good. Like, I think we're going to be okay. I think our interior defense is going to get better. Pass rush is going to get home. Corners. I feel like Brandon Stevens, he's been put in a situation 2 games in a row where a busted coverage somehow goes back to him, and I feel that this time is going to be able to. I think he's going to get his first interception this game. I call it. I'll say it.
Nice, dude.
I'll man
Nice.
it up. But other than that, just communication on offense, man. I'm looking at Greg Roman on this game.
Nice. Yeah. All eyes on Greg Roman. For me, it's about third down conversions. I want to see us do much better in that area because it's something the Bears are going to struggle with probably in this game. And we don't want to match them and just give the ball right back to them. So you want to win this game, try to wear the Bears down, whether it be through the run or pass. It don't matter. I don't need to see 50 rushes to wear them down. Just possess the ball, convert on third down, move the chains. The big plays will be there. There will be. I mean, we are going to go after their corners. We are going to stress them deep. We're going to force some safety play from them. So if we can just move the ball in the intermediate, look for another big game for Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman. I think that if we featured him, he could really do some damage in this game. Basically, whoever Vildor's on, you should be attacking that person. You should be going after that receiver. But guys, we went a little long tonight, but we had to go over that Dolphins game. So I wanted to thank everybody for sticking with us tonight. Catch my guys out on Twitter. We got Real Jake Vogel. We got Garnett478. Huddle It Up Films on Twitter. Feel free to give me a hard time on there as well. But guys, thanks so much for all your time tonight. Make sure you say goodbye to the people and love the football family.
Love y'all, man. Peace. Free Tyson Williams.
Nate McCrary, Nate Dogg.
All right, him too.
Let's regulate.